The desert was burning. Smoke coiled against the dying sun, turning the sky the color of old blood. A man stumbled through the heat, his boot leaving a dark trail in the sand. Eli Kane, once a bounty hunter feared across 3 territories, now nothing more than a broken shape dragging himself toward silence. His hat was gone, his shirt torn to ribbons, and his revolver hung empty at his side. Behind him, the town he'd built with his own hands smoldered, charred beams, twisted metal, and the faint sound of a woman's scream echoing from memory. The rattlers had come without warning, riding in like a dust storm, killing everything that breathed. His wife, Clara. His boy. He saw their faces in the fire as he crawled through the wreckage, reaching for them and finding only ash. He didn't die that night. Fate, cruel and deliberate, left him breathing. The gang's leader, Cassidy Vane, had stood over him, grinning through a gold tooth as Eli bled into the dirt. "Let the desert finish the job," he'd said, and rode away. The desert tried. For 3 days, Eli wandered beneath a sky sharp enough to cut skin. His lips cracked, his vision burned. The buzzards followed, patient and faithful. By the 4th day, his body gave out beside a half-buried cross. He looked at the sky one last time and whispered his family's names. When he woke, whiskey was being poured down his throat. An old man sat beside him, long gray beard tangled like tumbleweed, Bible in one hand, shotgun in the other. "You look like hell's hangover," he said. Eli tried to speak, but only coughed dust. The old man grinned. "Good. Means you're still alive." The man was Reverend Colt, preacher, outlaw, or both, depending on the day. He nursed Eli back to the edge of life inside a shack made of rusted tin and faith. When Eli finally stood again, Colt watched him quietly. "You got that look," he said. "The one men get before they start digging graves." Eli said nothing. He walked outside, where the sun bled over the horizon, staining the dunes red. The wind carried the faint sound of horses far away, maybe real, maybe ghosts. He knelt in the sand and began to dig with his bare hands until the earth gave way. He buried 3 things there: a silver locket, a child's toy horse, and the man he used to be. As the last handful of dirt fell, he spoke, not a prayer but a promise. "When the devil rides again, I'll be his shadow." He rose, steady now, the pain burning clean through him. The Reverend called from the doorway, "Where you headed, boy?" Eli tightened his gun belt, eyes fixed on the horizon. "To collect what's owed." He mounted a half-dead horse and rode into the dying sun, the smoke behind him still rising like a ghost that refused to rest. The desert stretched endlessly before him, a graveyard of dust and silence. Days bled into nights without mercy. Eli Kane rode through the emptiness with a revolver on his hip and a promise burning in his chest. Each mile stripped something human from him. The warmth in his voice, the softness in his eyes. The bounty hunter was returning, piece by piece, rebuilt from anger and guilt. He stopped at every outlaw town that still whispered Cassidy Vane's name. None spoke willingly. Some needed convincing. He left behind splintered chairs, broken bottles, and the kind of quiet that follows violence. The rattlers had scattered after the massacre, hiding in the shadows of a dying frontier. But Eli hunted shadows well. Every clue led him deeper into the wasteland, closer to the heart of what he'd lost. By the time he reached Silvertooth Saloon, he was more ghost than man. The saloon reeked of sweat, whiskey, and false laughter. Piano keys stumbled through a broken tune while men with dead eyes watched him cross the floor. Behind the bar stood a woman with a scar down her jaw, Lena Graves. She noticed his limp, his eyes, the way he never turned his back on the door. "Whiskey," he said. She poured without asking for coin. "You're not the first man to come through chasing revenge," she said quietly. "Most end up buried behind the saloon. Want me to save you a spot?" Eli met her gaze. Just the drink. But something in her tone, a weary humor masking pain, made him hesitate. She'd seen the rattlers. He could feel it. When he asked, her expression darkened. "I rode with them once," she said. "Before I learned they only ride one way, over whoever's in front of them." She told him about Red Mesa, their new stronghold in the canyons. Cassidy had grown paranoid, ruthless, surrounded by killers. Lena wanted no part of it, but revenge was a language she understood. "If you're going after him," she said, "you'll need more than bullets. You'll need someone who knows the road." Before he could answer, the piano stopped mid-note. A man stood in the doorway, a rattler. His eyes went wide when he saw Eli. The silence snapped into chaos. Guns roared. Glass exploded. Eli moved fast, fury guiding his aim. The outlaw hit the ground hard, whispering with his last breath, "Cassidy's waiting." Red Mesa. Smoke hung in the air like a ghost refusing to leave. Lena stared at the blood pooling near her boots, then at Eli. "Guess I'm coming with you," she said softly. "If I'm going to hell, I might as well ride with company." Eli reloaded, holstered his revolver, and gave her a slow nod. The firelight caught the edge of his face, half shadow, half scar. Outside, thunder rolled across the plains as they mounted their horses. The desert wind howled behind them, carrying the scent of rain and blood. Ahead lay Red Mesa, and the devil they both meant to find. The night before the storm, the world held its breath. Red Mesa loomed ahead, an ancient scar of red rock and shadow, carved into a fortress by outlaws who feared neither God nor law. Lightning flashed across the horizon, throwing the jagged cliffs into sharp relief. Eli Kane and Lena Graves crouched behind a ridge, watching torches flicker along the canyon floor. The air smelled of dust and gun oil. Neither spoke for a long while. Eli checked his revolver, the metal cold against his palm. "You don't have to come," he said, voice low. Lena smirked faintly. "You say that like I still have a choice." Her tone was light, but her hands trembled as she tightened her belt. The truth was, both of them were past saving. Two broken souls chasing ghosts through the dark. They split as planned. Lena would walk through the front, unarmed, pretending to return to the gang that once betrayed her. Eli would take the mines beneath the cliffs, slipping in like a shadow with vengeance for breath. Rain began to fall in heavy, uneven drops, turning dust to mud and thunder into a drumbeat. Inside Red Mesa, the smell of whiskey and rot filled the air. Lena pushed open the saloon doors where Cassidy Vane held court, his boots on the table, his revolvers gleaming under the lantern light. His laugh was the same as Eli remembered. Cruel, careless, amused by everything that bled. "Didn't expect to see you crawl back, Graves," Cassidy drawled. "Ran out of places to hide?" "Maybe," she said, forcing a smile. "But I brought you something better than gold." Before he could answer, the ground shook. From below came a deep rumble, then gunfire echoing through the tunnels. Cassidy's grin vanished. The saloon doors burst open in a storm of bullets and thunder. Eli stepped through the smoke, revolver in each hand, eyes burning with cold purpose. The room erupted. Men shouted, tables overturned, and glass shattered. Eli moved like a man already dead, every shot precise, every motion born from fury. Cassidy dove behind the bar, firing back through splintered wood. Lena grabbed a fallen gun and joined in, her shots sharp and desperate. When the smoke cleared, only two men stood. Cassidy and Eli faced each other across the wreckage. Rain hammered the roof, and lightning lit their eyes. "You still breathing?" Cassidy hissed, reloading with trembling hands. Eli stepped forward, his voice steady. "Long enough to see you fall." They fired almost at the same time. The blast echoed through the canyon. Cassidy staggered, clutching his chest, a red bloom spreading fast. Eli dropped to one knee, blood soaking through his shirt. Cassidy laughed once, a dry, rasping sound. "Guess hell's got room for two." Then he fell. Lena ran to Eli's side, catching him as he collapsed. His hand brushed hers, weak but certain. "It's done," he whispered. Thunder rolled again, softer this time, as dawn crept over Red Mesa. The fortress burned behind them, painting the sky with fire. Eli closed his eyes, the rain washing away the blood. He didn't see the sunrise, but Lena did, and for the first time in years, it almost felt like forgiveness. The sun rose slowly over the ruins of Red Mesa, casting long shadows over the blood-soaked ground. The fire had burned itself into silence, leaving behind only smoke and ash that curled like ghosts in the wind. Lena Graves sat beside Eli Kane's body, his head resting on her lap, his revolver lying still between them. The storm had passed, but its echo lingered in the hollow of her chest. He looked peaceful now, almost human again, like the man he might have been before vengeance hollowed him out. For a long time she didn't move. The desert stretched endlessly around her, silent except for the crows circling above. She thought of what Eli had said before he fell, that it was done. Maybe for him it was. But for her there was no end, only the ache of what survived. She buried him at the edge of the canyon, where the wind sang through the rocks. She marked the grave with his revolver, the barrel pointed west, as if it still watched for danger. The engraving caught the light. For mercy. Reverend Colt found her there days later. He came riding slow, hat pulled low against the sun, the same old Bible strapped to his saddle. When he saw the grave, he didn't ask questions. He just stood there, the wind tugging at his coat. "Man like him don't die easy," he said quietly. But maybe he found what he was looking for. Lena's voice cracked when she answered. All he found was peace bought too late. Colt nodded, kneeling by the grave. He muttered a few words from Scripture, though they sounded more like apology than prayer. When he finished, he left a single bullet on the dirt mound, bright, unspent. "In case the Lord needs reminding," he said softly. That night, Lena built a small fire near the grave and watched the flames dance in the darkness. She could almost hear Eli's voice in the wind, low and rough, telling her to keep riding. She smiled faintly through the tears. "You always were bad at saying goodbye," she whispered. When dawn came again, she saddled her horse and looked once more at the grave. The desert shimmered beneath the morning light, vast and indifferent. She turned the horse westward, the same direction Eli had once ridden, and kicked gently. The horizon swallowed her, one heartbeat at a time. Behind her, Reverend Colt watched until she vanished. He lit a cigar, the smoke curling up toward the brightening sky. "Even the damned deserve rest," he said to no one. Then he climbed onto his horse and rode back into the emptiness. As the desert wind swept across Red Mesa, it carried the faintest echo of a gunshot. Distant, fading, eternal. Somewhere out there, another story was waiting to begin. And if this one moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. The West remembers those who ride alone.